Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move into our do now. Going to cover stuff from yesterday. So in the chat box, arrange the following terms of the levels of organization from simplest to most complex. Oh, so you can't hear anything, huh? I keep forgetting that I turn it on and off.
We have to make the copies of all those and then you give them to her?
We only see your camera right now.
Yeah, I forgot that I didn't have the thing turned on. There we go. Sorry, that's what I get for playing. Thank you, Zaria. Thank you, Gigi. Doing good so far. Make sure you're putting some more of those words down. I know that it's hard to remember it all, but I think you can do more than you think you can. Yeah. So for those of you who caught a glimpse, you already saw the answer. Yeah, I would consult your notes, Miguel. Looks like you got some stuff confused there. But you're on the right track for the most part. Josiah, I think you might have missed one or two words. Aside from that, it looks pretty good. Well, actually, no, pardon. You're right. There's a couple in there that are misplaced. Miguel A, pretty good. Nice try, Kaylee. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Brighton. Hello, Casey. Oh, Grace, you were so close.
Does it go with does it go like cell, tissue, organ, organ system, population, atom, molecule, organism, um, biosphere, organelle, and ecosystem.
It was a nice try, Brandon, but it sounded like some of those were guesses. It was not quite right. Okay. Anybody want to try and tell me what they got? How about Faye? Faye, are you able to come off mute and explain your answer?
Sir, I got cell, tissue, and cell system, no organ system, and that's it.
Let's go try Jacob. Let's see. Anybody else? You're off by just one.
I typed my answer, but it's not sent, but I can try.
Go for it.
I was gonna say atom, molecule, macromolecule, cell, tissue, organ, organelle, organism, community, population, organ. Oh, sorry, I missed organ system, but the last was going to be biosphere.
Yeah, that was pretty close. So here we have the answer. So this is a picture that I used yesterday. So we have atoms making up molecules. So remember we have oxygen atoms. Then the molecule would be like with two hydrogen atoms would be water, H2O, right? So atom, molecule, then molecule, macromolecule. So those are things that are made up of molecules. Then those make up organelles. Those make up cells. Those make up tissues, which make up organs, make up organ systems, make up an organism. Then we're going into ecology again. Those organisms exist inside of a population. Populations exist within a community, and communities exist within an ecosystem, which are all contained in the biosphere. So that's going from smallest to largest. Now, the reason I brought back the ecology stuff is because if you remember, when you take the star, they're going to ask you a question like this, where they expect you to remember everything, not just like ecology stuff and not just cell stuff. They want you to know everything. So, atom all the way to biosphere. I know it's kind of confusing, but like I said, we're in a new unit. We're just starting out, so if you don't have it down yet, that's fine. We'll have some time to keep playing with it. But for now, just focus on those first couple of levels. So atoms make up molecules. Those molecules make up the macromolecules. That's going to be your proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acid. Then those are going to make up your organelles. So for example, I mentioned the nucleic acid, right? That's going to be inside the nucleus, which is the organelle. Then those are going to be inside of cells, right? And the cell is kind of like the basic building block of life. Those cells make up tissues because you got a whole bunch of them together, they form a tissue. All those different tissues make up an organ, and then of course organ systems and organisms after that. Okay, any question about this hierarchy or level of organization? Okay, so like I said, I know it's kind of a lot to keep in your mind, but that's where we're practicing so that we can internalize it a little better as we go forward. Okay, let's move on. Can someone read our objective for today, please?
I can.
I got it. Never mind. You read.
Okay. Students will be able to compare and contrast prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells.
Okay, so I'm hoping that the picture on the right isn't too scary. By the end of class, and hopefully by the end of the week, you'll have more of this down. Don't worry about the organelles and the eukaryotes quite yet. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. For today, we're really focusing on the big differences between these two cells. Okay, so I have another video. Like yesterday, I'm going to go ahead and play it off of YouTube. It seemed to work better that way. Hello, welcome back to Mr. Martinez's biology classroom. It's wonderful to have you here. Let's jump right into it. So, last time we talked about levels of organization, from atoms and molecules to cells to tissues, so on and so forth. So, what I want to do now is talk about cells.
Mr. Martinez, we can't see anything.
No!
Now we can see you.
Wonder where that happened. There we go. Thank you for letting me know.
Hello, welcome back to
I guess I have
Mr.
to rewind
Martino's
it.
biology
Stuff,
classroom. It's wonderful to have you here.
Happy.
Let's jump right into it. So, last time we talked about levels of organization, from atoms and molecules to cells to tissues, so on and so forth. So, what I want to do now is talk about cells. Now, we talked about how atoms make up molecules, molecules make up macromolecules, and those macromolecules are found inside of cells. The example that I used was DNA being a nucleic acid, which is a biomolecule, found in the nucleus, which is an organelle inside the cells. So, what we're talking about today is going to be the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now, I like Legos. I like to play with Legos. I bet we've all made something like this before, right? Something very simple. Just a couple of Legos all put together. It looks nice, not very complicated. Now, for the pros, right, you can build something like this, a car. If you look inside, you can see the details. There's, windows and brake lights. It's much more complex. So you have something simple versus something complex. That's what it ultimately comes down to with prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotic cells are very simple. They're like this. There's not a whole lot there. There is genetic material because they are alive, but there's no what's called membrane-bound organelles. What that means is that there are organelles that are bound by a membrane or surrounded by a membrane. So I mentioned the nucleus. The nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle because the genetic material, the DNA, is encased inside of a nuclear envelope, which surrounds the nucleus. So it is a membrane-bound organelle because it has a membrane that surrounds it that regulates what comes in and out. Same as with the cell. So both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have cell membranes. The difference is that a prokaryote has a cell wall. So I picked this particularly because of its shape. So prokaryotes have a cell wall. Even though they are simple, they have this structure. Now, cell walls are important for bacteria because they help us identify them. They can be gram-positive or gram-negative depending on something called peptidoglycan on their cell walls. We'll get to that later. For now, just remember that prokaryotes are simple. They don't really have any membrane-bound organelles. The organelles that prokaryotes have are usually just ribosomes. So ribosomes are something that prokaryotes and eukaryotes share. So that was prokaryotes, right? Simple. Now let's talk about something more complex, right? Something complex like a eukaryote. Now eukaryotes are the cells that we have. As humans and as animals, we are eukaryotic creatures. What that means is the eukaryotes have a membrane-bound nucleus. The genetic code is encapsulated inside that nucleus. So just like I said a second ago, prokaryotes and eukaryotes both have genetic material. They're both alive. So one of the important distinctions are that prokaryotes do not have a nucleus. They don't have those membrane-bound organelles, like I said a second ago. So prokaryotes don't have that, which means that eukaryotes do. So eukaryotes have a nucleus. You, as in you, carry a nucleus, eukaryotes. Eukaryotes have a nucleus, prokaryotes don't. So what are prokaryotes? It's simple enough to hold this, but what are they? Now, when you think of a prokaryote, the thing you should think of are like bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotes. They're very simple, no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelles. They are simple and much older than eukaryotes. You might remember from one of our previous units about the 6 kingdoms. We talked about the domain archaea. So the archaea are bacteria that are ancient, right? They like the extreme environments. They're extremophiles. They are prokaryotes. They don't have that membrane-bound nucleus like eukaryotes do. It's thought that prokaryotes were one of the first life forms on Earth. In fact, a long, long time ago, it's hypothesized that a cell engulfed another cell, and instead of destroying it, that cell provided the original cell with energy. So in exchange for energy, that cell got protection. This is called the endosymbiotic theory, and it's kind of the origins of eukaryotes. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Eukaryotes are complex. They're not like prokaryotes. They're much more complex. So going back to this endosymbiotic theory, it's thought that that was the beginnings of mitochondria. You might not know this, but mitochondria have their own sort of DNA that's separate from the DNA in the cell. So let's talk about eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are complex. Looking at these two clay models, you can kind of see that one is more complex than the other. The bacteria, relatively simple, versus the eukaryote that has a lot more going on. It has a lot more organelles. Now, one of those organelles, the one we talked about earlier, the mitochondria, is the powerhouse of the cell. It provides power to the cell. Now, this is also not to scale. You would notice that the eukaryote is like 10 times larger than a prokaryote. When eukaryotic cells are getting ready to divide, they divide by a process called mitosis. You might have heard about it before, PMAT, or prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. When prokaryotes divide, they do so by something called binary fission. When you think of prokaryotes, think of bacteria, but when you think of eukaryotes, think of animals, plants, fungi, usually things that are multicellular. That doesn't mean that they're only multicellular, as we learned about with our six kingdoms and protists. Protists are single-celled eukaryotes. Now, the biggest division between eukaryotes is going to be between animal cells and plant cells. Animal cells are going to have that kind of classic spherical structure that you're thinking of, depending on their function, because eukaryotic cells can be, skin cells or hair cells or whatever. So depending on what function they have to serve, they might look different. But for the most part, think of it like that. Now, plant cells, on the other hand, also eukaryotic, but have a very rigid structure, similar to what you would have noticed with the bacteria. That's because they both have a cell wall. The reason plant cells have a cell wall is to help them maintain their structure. Because remember, the plants kind of stay in one position, right? They have to grow against gravity. They need a lot of support. So that's why they have the cell wall. It helps them maintain what's called rigidity. Let's sum up. We've got prokaryotes and eukaryotes. They have a lot in common. First and foremost is going to be DNA. Both of these cells are alive, which means they both have genetic material. The difference is that eukaryotes are going to have their DNA encased in that nucleus, surrounded by that membrane, whereas the prokaryotes have a nucleoid region, not the same, not protected. Now, they also have cell membranes. This helps them to kind of maintain homeostasis. They can control what comes in and out of the cell. An important distinction is that eukaryotes can be divided into plant cells and animal cells. Those plant cells have a cell wall, not animal cells, but plant cells. And that cell wall is shared with bacteria, with prokaryotes. So prokaryotes and eukaryotes both have a cell wall, but the asterisk being that it's only the plant cells, because animal cells do not have a cell wall. Both of these cells also have what's called cytoplasm. It's that jello-like fluid inside the cell that kind of supports everything. And then finally, ribosomes, an organelle that both eukaryotes and prokaryotes share. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, so that was a real quick summation of the differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now we're going to move on to our guided practice. So hopefully you've already downloaded your prokaryote versus eukaryote worksheet. We can go ahead and start. The list of 5 parts the prokaryotes and eukaryotes both have. This is something that we just talked about in the video, which for some reason I don't think that you can see. I don't know why it's using up like that. There we go. So what was that number one thing that I said that they have in common?
DNA?
Very good, DNA. So again, prokaryotes and eukaryotes are living cells. That means that they have DNA to pass down to offspring. Be it bacteria or an animal cell, they both have genetic material. They both can inherit genes. What's something else?
Ribosomes?
Very good. I think, oh, I didn't even put that on here. I could have put that on here. Yeah, ribosomes, something that they both share. Also, cell membrane, cytoplasm, the cell wall with the plant cells, and then a flagella with animal cells. And good catch, I should have put one more, that ribosomes. I want to fix that right now, because I want to make sure that we catch that. 4, 5, 6.
Mr. Martinez,
Uh-huh.
don't they also share a nucleus, like both at the cells?
So the difference between like bacteria and our cells are that our cells have a protected DNA region, which is the nucleus. The nucleus is encased inside of,
Oh, wait,
I'm sorry,
never
the
mind.
DNA
I
is encased
remember,
inside the nucleus.
never mind. I remember prokaryotes don't have a nucleus. Never mind. Ignore that.
Right. So that's one of the main things that defines them is that they don't have a nucleus. What they do have is called a nucleoid region. So be careful not to get too tripped up on the star if they ever mention it, because it kind of sounds like nucleus, but it's not a nucleus. All it's referring to is like the region of the bacteria where you can find the DNA. But it's not encased in anything. It's not bound by any kind of membrane. It's just the nucleoid region. Yeah, the cell membrane is shared by both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Cytoplasm is like that jello-y stuff that holds everything together. And then, of course, cell wall for plants and bacteria. And then flagella, which is a little tail thing coming out the end of it to help it move around. So plant cells don't
Mr.
have flagella.
Martinez,
Yeah.
I was thinking about plant and animal. That's why I got mixed up.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, that is an important distinction. Plant cells and animal cells both have nuclei because they're both eukaryotes. All right, very good. Okay, so this wasn't mentioned, but I wanted to make sure that I got in here with this. At the beginning of the year, I traditionally do a lot of like prefix and suffix work, but I don't know, it seemed like a lot of work, so I decided not to. But I wanted to include it here because it does help you understand what the words mean.
Mr. Raymond,
Uh-huh.
can you go back a little for a second? I just need to see what number 6 was.
Yeah.
Like,
So flagella, you might have in your head like a sperm cell, right? It has that whip thing coming out the back. That's a flagella. It kind of helps the cells get around.
okay.
So bacteria cells have that. We have that. There are other
Right.
types of locomotion. So there's also like cilia and pseudopodia. There's different ways those cells can get around. But for sure, the bacteria have a flagella just like us.
Yeah, you can move back.
So the reason I want to break down the words is because they can help you understand what the words mean. So eukaryote might sound just like a funny word. You don't know what it means. So you means true. Now these are Greek prefixes. So what that means is that these are not words developed from English. These are words developed from ancient languages. So you means true, and pro means before. Then kary refers to nucleus. It has a more specific definition, but it's not important. Just know that kary more or less means nucleus. So when you have a eukaryote, what do you think that word means?
True nucleus.
True
You got it,
nucleus.
true nucleus. So eukaryotes have a true nucleus because they have their genetic material encased in that nucleus. Versus the prokaryote, which I remember I said was older, so it was around before the nucleus. So I think the mnemonic helps where it says like, you are eukaryote, you carry DNA. I think that one works. But if your brain works a little bit more analytically and you want to know how the word actually is formed, you means true, pro means before. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all do some independent practice on this worksheet. Again, I'm here if you need help. We're going to take about, let's call it 10 minutes to work on it. It's not very long. We've already done about half of it if you just did this with me right now. After this, we're going to have our exit ticket, and then we're going to wrap up with the rest of our culture PowerPoints and talk about dismissal. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on your independent practice. Then we're going to move on to our exit ticket, and then we're going to talk about dismissal. Alrighty. Then oh, and one more thing. There's a thing at the bottom that says like review questions from previous lecture. Don't worry about that. Just skip it. So don't worry about those questions. Alrighty, here we go.
Mr. Raymond,
Uh-huh.
do we skip the bottom part?
Yeah, skip the bottom part.
Mr. Raymond, can you go back to number 1 through 5, the one that was doing a minute ago?
Okay. Now I did add one. I added ribosomes, so just keep that in mind.
Okay. Let's see, DNA, cell, membrane, um, sorry, cell wall. Okay.
Alrighty.
Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, man. Uh, Web, websites, cell walls, like, yeah. Okay, you good.
Okay. Did you need these? Or did you get these already?
Oh yeah, I need those. Let's see. Is that true? Um, before new, come on, nucleus, true.
What?
All right, we good.
I'll resume the timer. Okay, so remember that this is the end of the grading period. Grades are due for us on Friday. I'm giving you plenty of time. Now that I'm recording my lectures, I'm a lot more efficient at getting through our guided practice and independent practice time. So you've had all class, more or less, to get this finished. So make sure that you're getting any missing work done so that you can not fail. Okay, we're going to move on to the exit ticket. I am going to go ahead and post the link in our chat box. There you go. Remember that I take daily grades for exit tickets as well, so make sure that you're getting those complete. We've got about, let's say, 10 minutes, and then I'll go over the dismissal procedure. So again, the link for the exit tickets in the chat, make sure you're getting that finished, and then when you come back from that, we're going to go ahead and talk about dismissal to end our culture camp presentations. Okay, so I hope I gave you plenty of time to work on your independent practice, to work on your exit ticket, because we are now going to finish up our campus culture presentations with dismissal. So let me go ahead and exit out of this. And make sure that you can see what I see with this PowerPoint. Okay, how do I present? Like this. Okay, there we go. Dismissal. So our plan is for you to be safe and healthy this year, for you to learn a lot, and for you to have a good time at school. So we know that it's dangerous to be here. We're happy that you're here. But of course, our primary concern is for you guys to be safe and to have a good time. So students will be able to explain procedures for staying safe and healthy throughout the school year. School day. Hopefully at this point you've had almost all that information given to you. We're just going to kind of cover up the last little bit here with dismissal. So we're going to use the image below to discuss the following two questions. Think of a time and place where there was a big group of people exiting a building. Where were you? Was it organized? What is the impact of having a dismissal procedure? So does anyone want to tackle those questions for us?
I say that no, we're not organized because I can see too many people going at it, and like people not getting to the cars, people not seeing where their parents are at. So they must be out of control. So basically, like um, if they just see their parents, they can just go home.
Very good. Now, this is not necessarily a picture from a school. This just shows people leaving. And you can kind of notice that they're all kind of like in a hurry and they're all next to each other. Now, this picture was clearly taken pre-COVID, right? Because we are now in a post-COVID world. I guess it's not post-COVID because it's still happening. We're in a COVID world. What is wrong with this picture as far as us dismissing during school time? What would
No
happen if
one is
you saw
organized.
this
No
outside
one is
during
organized.
dismissal?
No one was organized. Everyone was all over the place.
Yeah, there's no organization, right? It's chaotic. And more than that, they're not socially distanced, right? So remember that during this COVID time, we have to make sure that we're keeping 6 feet apart from everybody so we're not getting anybody in trouble. Also, they're not wearing any masks, correct? So part of this whole procedure is that we're trying to make sure that people are staying safe, that they are protecting not only themselves, but each other. A big thing about wearing masks is that it's not necessarily designed to protect just you. Masks are there to help everyone. They're to help not only yourself, but to help your fellow man. So, not socially distanced, they're not wearing masks, and it's totally chaotic. So this is what we're trying to avoid with our dismissal. It's not that, when it's time for dismissal, everybody gets up and then runs out, right? We have to have a schedule and an order to make sure that everything is safe and secure. So some of these times are not right. Just remember that at 3 o'clock, we are actually going to our den time for SEL. And then after that, we start having dismissal at 3:15. I'm not sure why the times are wrong, but 3:15 is going to be our dismissal time. And that is when I think walkers can also go and find their siblings. And then, of course, 4:30 be a champion/athletes. So again, the point of dismissal procedure is to make sure that everybody's going to be staying safe. When you're exiting the classroom, you're staying on the blue line to the right so that you can maintain 6 feet social distancing. Because we're trying to make sure that we're keeping not only ourselves safe, but everybody else safe. So when you exit the classroom in the building, you need to have your masks on, you need to stand by your desks, push your chairs in, wait for staff to dismiss, and stay 6 feet apart. So can I get a scholar to come off mute and read this for me one more time?
I can read them.
Scholars when
Scarlett,
Oh,
who's gonna go? You can go.
uh, scholars when exiting will have masks on, stand by desk, push chairs in, wait for staff to dismiss, stay 6 feet apart.
Thank you. So what this means is that when it's time for dismissal at 3:15, instead of rushing out, you're going to stand up and you're going to wait for someone to dismiss us. So all your teachers, your den teachers should have uh, the dismissal form up and letting people know, but you're going to wait for staff to come and dismiss you. And then when you do leave, you have your mask on, You push your chair in and you stay 6 feet apart from everybody else when you're going down the hallway. Same as we do our hand washing during lunchtime. Again, the important part is that we're trying to make sure that everybody is safe and careful and just, orderly. Okay, so we're going to check for understanding. Can I get somebody to read this scenario for us?
Miguel is very eager to leave class today because his aunt is coming into town. He checks his watch and he sees that it is 3:14 p.m. He knows that he is a car pickup, but quickly stands up and exits the classroom when his teacher is turned around. As soon as he leaves the room, he notices no one is in the hallway and takes off his mask.
Thank you, Ms. Ari. So, after reading Miguel's story, identify 3 procedures he did not follow. So what are the 3 things that he did not do?
Wait until staff came in,
Very
wait for
good.
the teacher to let him out, and took off his mask when he saw no one was in the hallway.
Excellent. Anybody else?
He didn't follow the right procedure where they were basically supposed to wait till everyone was finished and pushing their chair and then wait for people to come.
Yeah, what
thank
she
you.
said.
The very end, right? Make sure you push in your chair. So you're pushing in your chair, mask on, socially distancing, and he didn't even wait for 3:15, right? So lots of stuff wrong with this one. So again, we're doing this not because we hate you. We're doing this because we want to make sure that everybody is safe. We're trying to do our best to minimize the risk of infection as well. So it's a two-way street. We got to help each other, and you got to help yourself. Okay? So the biggest thing that we're doing this year is sweating the small stuff. It's part of our core values, right? Sweating the small stuff, team and family. We're not only worrying about ourselves, but also about our family. And we're trying to do everything that we can, even the small, minutest little things, to make sure that we're doing it right. Okay. Now, it is, I think, 2:55, right? 10 seconds till, I think. So you are headed to your den so that we can have our SEL time, so we can all breathe and have a great time. And then at 3:15, we start our dismissal procedures. Alrighty? So thank you guys for coming to class today. Thank you for participating. Thank you for doing your best. Remember that the end of the grading period is on Friday. You've only got a couple days left to get those missing assignments turned in. Okay? But
Bye,
thank you all
Mr.
for being here.
Martinez.
Bye.
Oh, and thank you for saying my name right.
You're welcome, Zara.
Oh, bye, Mr. Martinez.
It's not my name. You said it right the first time.
I know I knew this. I think it was right the second time. I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Bye.
Mister, say her name wrong, like Cassie.
I did. I said Cassie just a second ago.
Call her Casserole.
Do not call me Casserole. What kind of name is that? It doesn't even sound like my name.
Cabbage.
Bye, Faye. Bye, Kaylin. I'll see you in a little bit, Kaylin.
What?
Bye, Alan.
Who
Bye,
keeps
Mr.
saying
Raymond.
that what?
I think it's that. I think I know who it is. I just figured it out. So in class today, like in every class, somebody says, I don't know. It sounds like something with a W. I don't know. I don't know if they're saying what. That. I think I figured out who it was.
Who is it?
You didn't hear the person?
No. Who is it?
Mr. Martinez,
Opposite
did
of
you hear the
Octavian. What?
Did you hear the person, Mr. Martinez? Because you said bye to them like right after they said it.
Yeah, I saw him.
See, I know. I'm not losing it.
My
Somebody
thing
said
didn't pop up because the presentation's still on. So.
Oh, I'll tell you later.
There you go. My wife and I have a not school appropriate joke because our baby is teething, and so she's got like drool everywhere. So we call her a wab, the B for the baby.
I know what that means.
But okay, y'all are headed to your den time for SEL, and I'll probably end the meeting here pretty soon so that I can get to my den as well.
That's amazing. Okay, bye, Mr. Martinez.
Bye, Cassie.
Wait, no, go back. What did you just say?
I said your name. I said Casey.
I heard something else. Okay, I heard Cassie.
Okay, so I'm gonna end the meeting here in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and start my other meeting, and then I will come back and end this one. Actually, no, I'm just gonna end this meeting. Why do more work for myself? I'm just gonna end this now. Okay, thank y'all for your work. Thank y'all for being here, and I will see you tomorrow.